years ago, a band of 4 women rewrote pop history, and they did it with one album, Different Light. Released in January 1986, the album was the rocket that launched the Bangles from cult favorites to international chart toppers. But how did a band rooted in 60s jungle pop evolve into polished pop queens? What role did Prince play behind the scenes, and why does Different Light still matters today? This is the story behind the album that gave us Manic Monday, Walk Like an Egyptian, and so much more. Before Different Light, the Bangles were known for their jungly guitars and garage band spirit, heavily influenced by the 60s rock and folk. The debut album, All Over the Place, got some attention but lacked mainstream traction. Then came a turning point, producer David Kahn. He polished the sound, layered in keyboards and synth textures, and nudged the band towards a more radio-friendly vibe. Some fans saw it as setting out, but in truth, it was a strategic evolution. With tighter production and infectious melodies, the Bangles were now ready to compete on pop's biggest stage and win. Prince was a fan of the Bangles. In 1984, he offered them a song he'd written under the alias Christopher. That song was Manic Monday. It became the band's breakout hit, peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, right behind Prince's own Kiss. The track gave the Bangles a sleek, melodic and slightly melancholic anthem that connected with millions. Suddenly, the band was everywhere, on radio, MTV and magazine covers. Manic Monday was the moment the Bangles became a household name, and it was just the beginning. After Manic Monday, the Bangles exploded onto the global stage, but it was Walk Like an Egyptian that made them legends. With its quirky rhythm, unusual vocal handoffs and unforgettable music video, the track topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 4 weeks straight. Walk Like an Egyptian was a pop culture moment. Kids mimicked the dance, parodies aired on TV, and the Bangles became MTV's staples. Critics were split. Some call it novelty, others call it genius, but one thing was clear. By late 1986, the Bangles were unstoppable. Different Light gave the world hit after hit, but its true legacy lies in what the Bangles represented. In an era dominated by male rock and pop groups, the Bangles became the first all-female band to reach this level of commercial success, writing, playing and singing their own music. They weren't a manufactured girl band, they were real musicians. The visibility on stage and on screen broke barriers for women in rock and inspired an entire generation. For countless fans, especially young girls in the 80s, seeing the Bangles at the top was revolutionary. 40 years later, Different Light still holds up as a time capsule, but also as a landmark in pop music history. Some critics once claimed it was too polished or too mainstream, but history proved them wrong. The album bridged rock and pop, launched global hits, and showed the world what an all-female band could do on their own terms. The songs still echo in playlists, commercials and covers. The Bangles rode the 80s wave and helped shape it. Their influence can still be felt 4 decades on. 2026 marks 4 decades since some of the greatest albums of the 80s dropped. We'll be revisiting a new classic each month, so hit subscribe, follow us and drop in the comments which iconic 1986 album you think we're covering in February.